back to the Keri Report. As you know, I'm a fan of supplements, but not all supplements. These days, there are far too many on the market making grand health claims that often fall short. The latest to catch my attention is NAD+. It promises to boost energy, sharpen your mind, improve sleep, and even reduce the appearance of wrinkles. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, today we're going to break it all down. Do these benefits have scientific backing, or are we just buying into hype? Stay tuned. I've been aware of NAD for some time, but after reading a recent article in Health Magazine by today's guest, I felt it was the ideal moment to finally introduce this topic to the podcast. Joining me is Lauren O'Connor, a registered dietitian, cookbook author, and freelance health writer. She's the founder of Nutri Savvy Health, where she shares practical, science-based tips and gut-friendly recipes. I'm so glad she's here to help us make sense of the NAD craze. Welcome, Lauren.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's like one more supplement that the consumer needs to be like savvy on. Not to take a word from your company, but it's the truth. They need to be savvy when it comes to all these supplements. And NAD, what made you write about it to begin with? I'm just curious.
You know, I just thought it was a fascinating topic because I had actually gone to a function where I got to meet a whole bunch of different people presenting on different topics, and the topic of NAD just sparked my interest.
Yeah,
and
no, and
I thought
it's
it was
funny
fascinating.
because I don't know, it was maybe a couple of months ago, my daughter sent me something on NAD and anti-aging, and she's like, what's the facts here? What do I need to know? And she's in her 30s, and I was like, I don't know, I'll get back to you. So anyway, getting back to her a little late, but here we go. All right, so we're going to dive right into the questions. Let's start with the basics. I mean, what exactly is NAD? And I know I say plus sometimes because just so everyone knows, it's NAD, but when you see it in writing, there's a little plus after the NAD. So that's why I've been saying the plus, but I think I'll stop that to keep it shorter. So what exactly is NAD and what role does it play in the body?
Okay, so I like to think of it as a key player, a cheerleader, and a kind of influencer of sorts, okay? Because NAD is a molecule within your cells, and it plays a key role in energy production, which is really important for growth, repair, and all the various functions that our bodies need to like survive and thrive, okay? So that said, you know, lifting up those energy, you know, cheerleader, hey, you know, it also it's also involved in over 500 enzymatic
Okay, so it's
reactions,
naturally occurring
right?
in our bodies. Our body makes this naturally, and it exists in all our
Correct.
cells, and it does all these unbelievable things that we're not even aware of. It has a
Well,
role.
correct. It has a role, right? It has an
Okay.
influence, right? So when we're talking about metabolic health, you know, and we have many enzymatic reactions that happen for our health, right? So we're talking about blood sugar control, cholesterol management, DNA repair, managing inflammation, and,
Okay.
you know, of course, immunity. So yes, it's very important for our
Right.
bodies
And
to
do
have
we
adequate
know
levels.
adequate levels when you say that? Is there a set amount we're supposed to have,
Yeah.
or does it vary from person to person?
You know, I wish I had that answer, but you know that you have adequate levels
Okay.
when you have plenty of energy, when you're not suffering from age-related diseases, right? Because there tends to be a decline in NAD when those age-related diseases like heart health, you know, heart disease, cancer, and all that start to rise. The NAD
Okay,
levels
so
are
is
much
it
lower.
another
So
thing
there's
that we have to be aware of as we age? Like I recently found out on an episode to do with collagen. It wasn't a pretty picture, the way that at age 30, our collagen starts to decline. I was not happy. Are you telling me also like NAD, the older we get, we're losing it? The NAD's disappearing in our body.
yeah, There seems to be a relationship in that
Okay. All
reverseness, right?
So
Yeah,
then
exactly.
if supplements are out there promoting anti-aging, which I'm a huge fan of, what exactly is scientific with it? So can this supplement, NAD, help with reduction of wrinkles? Can it help slow down any kind of, like, overall, in the big scheme of things, cellular aging? Or am I reaching too grand here?
Yeah, okay. So
Okay.
we'll talk about cellular aging because with the wrinkles, you know, you're not going to be taking the supplement and all of a sudden go, oh my God, my skin is so smooth.
Oh,
It's like
too
baby
bad.
skin.
Okay.
But don't you wish? But when we're talking about cellular aging, we're talking about all these stress factors that happen inside our bodies and outside stressors that cause stress and inflammation in our bodies. And when we have that stress, overwhelming amounts of inflammation, that's when we start to see
Okay.
declines, right? So signs of aging, you know, that can affect like memory, it can affect us physically, it can affect our skin health. Obviously,
then
we
it's
see it on the outside.
right. So
So
then
it does,
should it
yeah,
all I can think now is, should we be taking something like this if those are our concerns? And I know there's a lot more we're going to get to, but I'm now harping on this reduction of wrinkles, slowing down certain things that might occur in our bodies. Should we be starting this early, like in our 30s?
I mean, it seems to be like a good idea, right? Because I think you start to notice aging maybe when you're 30, maybe in your early 30s. I don't think I
I
noticed
don't
it
think,
in
I'm
my
sorry,
20s.
Lauren, I don't know if everyone really
It's,
feels it in their 30s either. I'm just saying. Okay. I think you don't really say it, you
yeah,
feel it till
yeah, yeah.
much later. But the question is, would it do stuff? I mean, I'm not expecting it to make a difference how you feel in your 30s or your 40s or even your 50s. But
Yeah.
when, I'm just again curious if these levels are starting to decline and it's needed for certain activities, the cellular activity in our bodies, and possibly be related to wrinkles and cognition decline, which I want to talk more on. Should we be starting to take it earlier? Or if you don't really know, then you don't really know. That's fair too.
No, I mean, it's fair. I don't have the
Right.
answer to that, but you know, it seems to be the reasoning, you know, considering
Right.
what I know about NAD,
Why not start
that why
earlier?
not? It's
Okay.
not.
All right. So,
Mhm.
if it could possibly help with slowing cellular aging, and I guess, it's funny, I put cellular aging in the same question with wrinkles, but they're totally two different things, right? One is to do with skin, and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other is to do with cellular aging, which has to do with what exactly? What does cellular aging have to do with?
Well, when it's aging, I mean, it doesn't produce enough
Okay.
energy within the cell. And when the cell doesn't, you know, work with its energy factory, producing enough energy, you know, functions
Okay.
can be compromised, right? So you don't have that full potential of the cell to perform certain functions. And so I always see it as a deflated, kind of slightly deflated sort of airbag balloon,
Right.
slightly deflated, a little tired. I think that when we have cellular aging, I think it reflects in our overall well-being. I think it
Okay.
reflects in our skin. I think when we're aging and we're not getting enough sleep, you see
Well,
bags
right.
underneath your eyes.
Okay,
You know,
so
so that's how
cellular
I connect
aging
it.
does not have to do with, which we're gonna then we'll speak to. It doesn't have anything to do with other, because you mentioned something earlier. I think you mentioned cholesterol. It doesn't have anything to do with disease states, cellular aging, or does it? Okay.
I kind of think it does. I feel like if it can't do its functions to properly work, I think that systems in the body can be a little
Okay.
slowed down or
There's a
off kilter.
connection.
So I think that
Right.
there's
There's a
somewhat.
connection. Okay. So let's talk about my other favorite topic after wrinkles, which is brain health. So, okay. So
Okay.
have you seen in the research, because I mean, that's the whole reason when I saw your article, I know you comb through the research, because I'd rather not have to comb through the research. I'd rather defer to
Yeah.
someone else who already has. You comb through the research, and did you find a connection with brain health or focus or memory, any of that NAD made a difference? Is there any studies like looking at a group that might have taken it and then all of a sudden there was improvement in memory or focus?
Yeah, I mean, there haven't been a lot of human studies that directly
Okay.
say, oh, this, from what I've seen, it seems like is a
Okay.
lot of animal studies that provide some
Okay.
promise to it. But within the human studies, we're seeing decreased markers
Okay.
of inflammation. And high levels of inflammation can impact memory, that can
Right.
impact cognitive health, it can impact cognitive functioning and how it's linked to connectedness within our bodies, our brain
Right.
and being able to send
Right.
signals
Okay.
to our
So what
body
I'm
to function.
understanding, because as much as I don't like to comb through the research, I'm very much aware of when we have the conversation about animal studies versus human studies. So obviously, as we continue discussing
Yes.
different claims, I mean, I think that's a very important factor that we need to bring up is whether it's animal or human. And like you said, animal, a lot of times, hey, that could be extremely promising. And yes, you could jump on the bandwagon early. You could end up wasting a lot of money, as long as, and we're going to, I keep saying, and we'll get to it, but if there's any detriment
Yeah,
to
yeah.
taking it. So, but right now, there's been no study like on a group of seniors that has looked at whether they started to supplement with NAD if their cognition improved.
I don't
Seen it.
I
Okay.
haven't personally seen a study in that it specifically states better
Okay.
focus, cognitive. There have been studies, like I will say, with like ataxia, where the person has problems with coordination, where they've seen like slight improvements, like maybe in coordinations, in fine motor skills, and or
Okay.
like with speech, right? But it didn't specifically, say, oh well, focus was improved. I'm saying that animal studies, it's not horrible that they're promising.
Yes.
It's kind of a good thing because it sort of pushes science forward to go
Right. Let's do
go
more.
further. Let's study this more. But I think what science is really saying is that it's helping to lower
Okay.
levels of inflammation or inflammatory markers that we see in the blood, which represents
So that
inflammation
seems
that
to
can be
be, which is going to
systemic,
be
that can,
the underlying consistency here, is that NAD,
yeah,
with when you don't have enough of it, there's inflammation in the body.
yeah.
And if you have adequate levels, then your inflammation should be lower. I mean, but that's an isolated instance too. I mean, come on, we know that there's so many other things a person could be doing that could be causing inflammation in the body. So,
Right.
taking NAD supplement
Right.
and trying to hope to decrease inflammation, but then your diet is filled with added sugars. I mean,
Yeah, that's another
I mean,
point,
I don't think you're going to
right?
see the benefits of NAD if there are, if your diet is also high in sugar. So we have to also look at that because there's also haven't been, I guess, the research to support it in humans wholeheartedly. Well, or with everything. I think there's one that maybe it has. Is there, because I know you were big on the sleep component, is there benefits for
Yeah.
NAD and sleep? No, I keep saying, and another one of my favorite topics because I
Okay.
just feel I never get enough sleep. Okay, so what have you learned there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. So as far as sleep, there have been some small studies on sleep. And they're promising, but
Okay,
keep in
small
mind these are
studies.
small studies.
How many
So
people?
the ones that
So my listeners understand what small is.
I can tell you
Okay,
it's just relatively small. I don't have the study in
small.
front of me, but I can tell you that it seems to have some promise. And so in recovery, recovering from tiredness, and then one was actually in
Interesting.
sleep quality.
Okay.
And so we know that, so science knows that we need two things. We need CoQ10 and we need NAD, and they're both instrumental in helping with sleep quality, because when our sleep quality is interrupted or disrupted, they tend to see lower qualities, quantities in both of
Interesting.
those. So we're again doing the comparison of age-related disease, lifting and the decline in NAD, seeing that, slowly you're kind of wanting to bring it a little bit higher to like hopefully mitigate some of those effects
So
or
can they
potential effects of
actually
aging.
measure,
So
and they can measure NAD in the body? But they don't
apparently,
seem to. I mean, because
apparently.
now I want my NAD checked. Maybe that's the reason I don't sleep well. But,
I don't know
right,
how, and I wish I did know how, but apparently in the
that's what
clinical
they're doing. They're
research, or
measuring it.
from the research that I'm finding, they're saying it seems to be a connection between low levels and heightened age-related or stressed, conditions of
Right.
age-related disease. But also, I think that the fact that it is involved in the biological clock process, meaning that it works with this important enzyme known as serotins. Okay, so we don't need the fancy name, but it works with an enzyme. This enzyme needs it in order to function to support the
Right.
biological clock. So if you can work with that circadian rhythm and getting your body to be on a system so that you get the amount of sleep that you need at the right time and getting that functioning working, in a sense, that can
You
help
know,
with
it
restorative
just makes me think
and
of so many things,
repair.
though, because one, is it the NAD levels or that affect women as they age with their sleep? How does that tie into menopause? I mean, it's just opened a whole nother conversation in my head. Like, is it the NAD? Is NAD naturally get lowered in menopause? Is that's what's causing part of the sleep problem? I mean, who knows? I think studies need to be done. Yeah, because now I'm just
I think so.
wondering how that all plays. And I
Well, that makes
also
me wonder as
wonder
well. Yeah.
because, as with most supplements, I mean, it doesn't sound like this to me, as I'm understanding it, would be something that would be needed to take consistently. So, and it has to build up over time,
Hmm.
correct? So it's not like, oh, like someone might take melatonin for a good night's sleep. No, that's completely different. This is taking NAD over, I don't know, maybe 1 to 2 months, and then maybe seeing an improvement in your sleep? These small studies, in these small
Yeah,
studies, do they have a time period in them?
there were time periods. I don't have it
Okay.
on me right now, but it does stand to make sense that you would be taking over time. And just the fact that because it's so broad in what it does and it's involved in so many functions in the body, and it does have potential to reduce DNA damage, obviously having the potential to work in reducing inflammation because it's involved in all these processes. It kind of makes sense that you would
Right.
want adequate levels. Um, but as far as sleep, I think that studies are
Always.
still emerging. I think that's still something that we could dig into deeper, get larger studies and things like that. But I do think that is interesting because when I think about it, when I don't get enough sleep, my skin looks sallow, my eyes have bags. On the outside, I don't look as good. On the inside, I don't feel as energized. And sometimes it takes me a while to
Right.
get
But the
out of the
question
funk, which,
is,
is
which we
that,
don't know, is it that
Mhm.
your NAD levels are low,
Yeah.
or could it be a host of other reasons? You don't know. Like another thing that I know that there's a lot of claims for is fatigue, that can help with fatigue and athletic performance. I mean, it seems like every day something else supposedly can help with athletic performance and fatigue, but where's the science on this connection? Is there? Or is it another one of those we're just kind of thinking like overall your body might be functioning better, therefore, or is there a direct, not an association, but is there a direct relationship?
They say that they, in a certain study, they said, supplementing with the NR, which is a precursor, I
Wait, so
must say, to
NR, back up
NAD,
a moment.
because you can't,
NR, give us a little more. That was the
yeah, yeah.
enzyme?
Okay, right. That is a nicotinamide riboside, and that is a precursor to NAD because you cannot take NAD in its as a whole because you cannot absorb and utilize it in the body. So you have to take the precursor to make it in your
So wait,
system,
so the
right?
supplementation of NAD is not NAD?
It's not actually NAD, it's using the precursor, whichever precursor, the supplement chooses to use, but there's a variety of precursors, which are forms of vitamin B3 or niacin. So, that's how your body gets more, because you consume something that helps your body produce
So what
more
you're
NAD.
taking, so just so I'm clear, so if I'm supplementing, like when I supplement with vitamin D, I'm taking vitamin D. Okay. If I'm supplementing with calcium, I'm taking calcium. But if I go to the store right now and I want to buy
Yeah.
NAD, it will say NAD, but it's not actually, because the only way to get NAD is for our body to make it.
Yes, correct. So you've got
So
to
that's
supply
what
the
we're
precursor.
actually taking,
So
is the precursor, and then our body can make more NAD.
yes, and when it makes more NAD, then there's more potential for boosting the
Okay.
energy within the cell and for all those various functions, as well with it reacting with the various
So
enzymatic
here's the other
processes in the
question.
body.
If your body is not low in it, you could be taking this supplement, it could be doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, but I think that the possibility of your body, I think that we have a lot of external stressors on us. I think with what's going on socially, politically, I think just in general in living, and as you
Right.
get older, we
Okay.
do notice that
So it's
as we get older, we
right.
see
So
and
it's
feel
almost a
signs.
guarantee that no matter what, as we age, it's going to drop. So,
Yeah,
but here's the other question. It's not like you can accumulate extra. So back to, when does it start dropping? And when you're in your 30s, should you be starting it, or should it be more like in your 40s and 50s? Or is it too late? Like if you start in your 70s, has the boat, sailed, or whatever the saying is? I mean, is it too late?
there's about way. Yeah, I think honestly, I honestly didn't start
Okay.
taking it till now, right? I take a powdered form of it, and there's a reason why, because I do not like to swallow pills. I had LPR, which is, I had GERD, I had extreme acid reflux,
Okay.
which affected my throat. And I don't swallow big pills, and most
Yes.
supplements come in big pills. So I take a powdered form of an NAD supplement that it has
Okay.
NR, the precursor. Okay, so, but again, what was your question again?
Yes.
What age, right? Like, look, I'm 55. My boat has like sailed in terms of wrinkles right now. Hello, I've got
Okay.
plenty of wrinkles that
Right,
are not going to
but
go
we can
away.
slow it down, Lauren.
But
This is the whole thing. Okay, I know it's like
yeah,
it's there.
yeah,
It's
we are
there, and I want to be
hopeful.
hopeful that it doesn't have to. I mean, I know it's going to come more. I know it. It's destiny. But what can we do along the way? This is, I mean, we know.
Eat, eat
I know.
healthy,
Right.
exercise, right? So obviously, you want to have those components that are going to help your body
Right.
be more optimal. So there are foods that have NAD precursors, like niacin, or forms of vitamin B3, like NR.
Okay, so this is right.
NMN.
Back to that though. Okay, so when you go to the store, I know I'm harping on this now. I just want to be clear for my listener. If you go to the store and you want to
Yeah.
buy, or you're doing it online like we do almost our entire lives, if you're going to purchase NAD, what are you looking for? I mean, I know you keep saying there's that NR, and then you mentioned this NMN. So will one brand have, am I looking
Right,
for,
which is,
one brand might have an NR, one brand might have an NMN. Is it better, one or the other?
the NR, we know that it does not suppress serotonin activity, and we know we need the serotins for our biological clock. We know we need them for our DNA, in the process of cellular repair and things like that. So, because it doesn't suppress that, we do know that some forms of niacin actually do. Okay, so we don't want anything to suppress an activity that's actually beneficial for us,
Correct.
or something in the body that works, that NAD works
Right.
with. Okay, we want to make sure that it is generally recognized
Right.
as safe. Right, that's important too. We do want to make sure that it meets standards of like measurable certification, where it's research based and backed. And I actually do have notes on that, because I don't want to say it
Okay.
incorrectly,
Tell us.
what we're looking for in this product. But
Okay.
I will tell you.
Right. So, well, okay. So you're
When
going
I
to tell us
find
more
it-
about the, because I'm still confused. I'm sorry. I feel like if I went into the store,
Right.
I wouldn't know what I'm looking for. And I wouldn't know what I'm looking
Right.
for. And I mean, I'm going to gather whatever the dose is. Usually I trust when a supplement has on the package how much you should take. Usually that's what I take, but I wouldn't know which one to buy.
Right. Would you know that it's third party tested? Do you know that it's ISO, IEC accredited? Maybe you wouldn't, but what I can tell you is that there are some brands
Right.
that meet these standards, and a brand such as True Niagen
Okay.
absolutely does. And so that if you know a brand meets the standards that I have listed,
Okay. So
then
it
that
doesn't
is a good
matter
choice.
if it's N or NMN.
Well, I think for sure we know that
Okay,
NR
so
does
that's
meet
a
all
better
these standards.
form.
I don't,
Ideally,
I mean,
maybe, perhaps a better form. Maybe there's more research and we don't know for sure.
maybe.
Okay. Now, would you be
Right.
then saying to someone right now, and I know this is just us chatting. I mean, we're not prescribing here to any of my listeners, but somebody is like, I want to take it for anti-aging benefits and I'm concerned about wrinkles. What do you think? Or I want to take it for like who's the demographic here? Who really should be taking it if we had to narrow it down? Or can we not narrow it down?
The way that I'm seeing it is I'm not looking at in terms of like, wow, this is going to enhance my athletic component or get rid of my wrinkles and stuff. I'm looking in terms of, because I'm in the demographic of 55, close
Right.
to menopause, and menopause has its
Yes.
deteriorations, which I feel puts you closer to age-related disease, which is scary because of the estrogen. Yeah. So I would target it for me, just in my mind, somebody within my
Right.
age range, right? It makes sense to me. And what I think is really kind of important is it's not something that I would take because of an immediate effect or like some
Okay.
amazing magic
It's not a
pill.
magic pill.
I think
Right.
right, but here's what I think, and I think this
Okay.
is an important way to think about it. Imagine you had been taking it for a year, and you just look back, and like maybe you got sick a little less.
Maybe.
Maybe you felt that you were able to wake up in the morning a little quicker. Subtle,
Right.
subtle,
Okay.
subtle things that aren't like,
Right.
oh God, I think that
Yes.
that
Yes.
could be
Let
reason
me ask you
enough.
though, Lauren. Let
And
me ask you. So, with that all said and done, in your research of the topic, did you find though that there's any groups that should not take it or any long-term risk? Do we know? I mean, I'm going to think there can't be if our body makes this, but are there any side effects or any negative things that are coming out about it?
Okay, so with NM and NR,
Right.
those two precursors, they're more recent ones that have been studied. There haven't been the same side effects, or if any, we
Okay.
haven't seen much of anything that you might see in niacinamide, which is a form of niacin as well. That might have, if
High doses of
we're
what?
talking
Of which
high
one?
doses,
The
okay.
Is that
Niacinamide.
that's not the NMN?
Which is not,
Okay.
that's not
Got it.
NMN, that's not
Something
NMR.
else.
That is
Okay.
another form. So some forms of B3 in high doses, can cause flushing of the skin, and they can cause some acute but reversible, like
Okay.
liver toxicity. This has not been seen in the supplementations given at the dosage
Right.
of the supplements, which appears in research to be safe from levels of 250 to 1,000.
Okay.
It seems to be well tolerated. So that's what I
Okay.
have read in the research.
So let me ask this. If the precursor is this niacin something or other, but I keep hearing you say, at least I think I keep hearing you something about vitamin D. B3,
Oh,
not
vitamin
B3. I'm
B3.
hearing, okay. So could somebody just take a multivitamin that has B3 in it and call it a day?
Yeah. I don't know. I think that, in particularly, we know that these particular forms of niacin, B3, seem to be working as precursors effectively. But again, like I said, there's many different precursors. These are the ones that have been put into the supplemental forms. These are the ones that have some recent research on them as to their effects. We know that, what was I going to say?
That's
Sorry,
okay, because I have another question right away. Do we know, and again, we might not, because I find it's very fascinating. So if it's naturally going to decrease NAD as we get older, but if we do have a well-balanced diet, everything that as registered dietitians we support eating plenty of fruits and vegetables and whole grains and blah, blah, blah. I don't need to go through it. We know foods rich in antioxidants, okay? Anti-inflammatory benefits, 100%. We want everyone to decrease stress. You and I are both yoga teachers. Yay, let's do more yoga. Love it. What about, we want to get sleep, even though I complain of that, but if we were getting good sleep and if we were getting some, we were being active and we were being social, we weren't drinking a lot, we were having a lot less added sugars in our diet, should we be okay? Or like when I'm learning about collagen, like no matter what, I'm kind of screwed. So no matter what I do, my collagen's dropping. So I'm wondering if NAD is the same, or could it be prevented?
That's really a good question. But the way that I see it is like I like to think I do many things right. But, I still have my vices. I like my cup of coffee, more than once. My point is that no matter what I do, this is still happening.
Right.
So,
Lauren, after all the research you did for this amazing article, is that when you started taking NAD? Or were you taking it before?
Taking it kind of during, once I found out about it and I had gotten the supplementation in the powdered form, which was important because it took a while for me to realize that it came in powdered form. So not once I went to the initial, where I learned about it, initially the introduction of it, I didn't start taking it. It's
I get it.
On the shelf. And then I was able to get the powdered form. Because I'm not going to take that pill. So it sat on the shelf. I actually
I've done that. Okay, so you started taking it then. But I don't know. See, that wasn't going to be my, believe it or not, it's not going to be my question. I think it's too soon. But my question is, I just already take too many supplements. I'll be honest. The thought of adding one more.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure there's enough science right now. I feel whatever is promising, like you've mentioned. But yeah, with everything else I'm taking, because, you and I, we go to conferences, we hear things and we're like, oh my God, I should be doing that. We hear about people presenting studies to us and we're like, I'm convinced. So now I'm already taking way too many supplements and plus trying to do everything else the best that I can. I'm going to say that I'm not going to run and start on NAD, but I would like to see more research on it to know if it's something that I should be doing. Are you taking any other supplements?
I have a hard time sticking to a supplemental regimen, to be honest.
Confessions of a dietitian here.
As a dietitian, I have a hard time sticking to a regimen. I've tried the gummies, do not like them. I haven't really found the one in the way that I take. Actually, there's a liquid vitamin I've tried. But that said, it is interesting enough to me to consider. It not for everybody, but I have people in my yoga class who said they were taking it. I was like really shocked because I, as a dietitian, I should be the one who knew about it way before they did. But perhaps there was some hype on
some influencer, Lauren, come on. Some influencer on TikTok was touting all the benefits from their study of one. And that's why your yoga students or yoga classmates started taking it.
Well, that's why I like to be clear that the science is emerging, and I like to be clear if it's an animal study or not, or if it's a large human study, if I found it. But there seem to be a number of studies on humans where it has
Inflammation.
reduced markers
Hey,
of
that
inflammation,
is
and
so,
that's important.
hey, that is
Inflammation.
agreed upon, is very, very important. I personally, like I said, I don't think I'm rushing out to buy it, but I definitely want to see more research because it's another area that I think the more that we can find out in our bodies, like if indeed, how low, like what, also, what's the number? Like, and then one day we can get tested. I just, I don't know. I think that would be awfully cool.
Wouldn't that be fascinating? Right, you think like I live in Southern California, like say vitamin D. Okay, so I would think that, well, I should not have low vitamin
Right,
D levels.
right,
I I consume plenty of things that have vitamin D in it. I'm a dietitian. I eat healthy. I
right.
exercise. I'm outdoors for more than 10 minutes at a time, not excessively. My levels were low. It's
Yes,
always shocking that sometimes you might not even know. It would be lovely, I think, if they could
yes.
test and go, "Oh, we see your NAD levels." But right now, that from what I understand, is that the science is just reflecting the fact that
Okay.
age-related diseases and the
That's where they're
consequences
checking.
with them
They're
are
checking that the
related to
levels are
lower.
lower.
And so let's see, if we can level those, bring them up, get them more in the
All right.
muscles, get them more,
Right.
more
Okay, so
in
now
those
I'm
cells in
second
the
guessing my
muscles.
choice. Like
Yeah.
maybe I should be taking it. I don't know. It's getting it's too many.
Well,
Oh,
no, I don't
it's
think
too
you're second
many.
guessing.
Lauren, I'm taking too
I
many. I
don't
can't add
think
another one to my regime. Okay.
Yeah, no, I completely hear you, but I
It
just think
is.
the science is fascinating to see how involved it is in so many
Right.
functions. Can you imagine if it wasn't there?
Right.
Wow,
Right.
we would probably not be here. Even if it's just a little bit of the involvement, but the
I
fact that
love it.
it's involved in so many
Yes,
functions, the fact that it is key to producing that energy in the cell itself, it's such a
it is.
fascinating thing for me. And so, I'm seeing it
All
as a
right.
key player, cheerleader, and social
Hey,
that gets
any kind of
things
cheerleading
done.
is always a good thing.
So,
All right, Lauren, thank you so much for this
yeah.
conversation. I definitely enjoyed it. And yeah, if people want to take NAD, we're not finding that there's anything wrong with it. We don't know really yet how much it will help, but at least we know it won't harm. Right? Okay,
Here.
good. All right, thanks again, Lauren.
Thank you.